Hey, hey!
Hey, Ray!
Rise and shine, gals. This is your host, Ray.
And this is your co-host, Hey, and this is your Not So Average Gal podcast. Alright, on today's episode, we have special guest, Kayla. She's, in fact, one of my old coworkers and also my favorite. She is on today's podcast to just kind of talk about life, experiences, jobs, and just everything. Alrighty, so we're going to jump in with the first question and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am cusping the age of 29 here pretty soon this July, so that's exciting. I am originally from California, so I've got 20 years of experience down there and almost 10 years of experience here in Washington State. I really do love the environment. It's been a lot of fun. I have an 8-year-old little Chihuahua named Norma, and I'm just a creative little individual. I've done artwork my whole life and just really enjoy anything experience-wise that I can kind of grab my hands onto and learn how to do and just carry forward for my life. So that's just a little bit about me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about your first job experience?
Oh yeah, so my first job was actually painting ponies for Patty's Ponies is what it was called, and it's kind of just a little bit of under the table work. She was just needing an extra hand, and I don't know how I even got wind of this opportunity. My mom might have helped facilitate it or something, some kind of neighbor. So I ended up doing it, and that was like the first taste of getting paid money-wise, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this sensation, but it was just waking up early at the crack of dawn on certain days to get these ponies all glittered up and ribboned up and, packaging them in a little trailer, driving somewhere down the hill in California to someone's either event or birthday party. And it was just so fun to get away from, like, the environment, get away from, I love you, Mom, but get away from my mom and, do something for myself that, like, I had to be responsible and I was given instructions and just, doing something that no one else that knew me was around for and just, taking care of myself, but also, like, getting these kids, like, on a pony and watching them have a cool little experience and, just feeling super adult. And when you're doing something like that, people look at you like, oh, you know what you're doing here. And it's like, this might be my first day, but I'm glad you think I'm experienced in this. And so you just kind of like fake it till you make it kind of thing. So
confidence is key.
Yeah, exactly. So that was like my first quote unquote job. After that, I'd consider like my first job being the cruise line that I worked on for Norwegian Cruise Line, the Pride of America. So that one circled the Hawaiian Islands, and I worked on that ship for a 5-month contract where you're working 60 hours a week, every week without a day off, and it's a lot of work. I actually worked night shifts cleaning, so I cleaned bathrooms on the cruise ship, and it's a lot of work.
I bet.
But, with a lot of work came a lot of play, too. So, I don't know when I ever slept, but I was always going onto the island and exploring by myself. Just going to the little, like, Whole Foods market, which I didn't know about Whole Foods until I got to Hawaii. So, boy, was that store so cool. Just, meeting people from all around the United States. So, it was one of the only U.S. flagged cruise ships, so that meant that they had to keep the majority of the workers from the United States, and then there could be some other from around the world too. So got to meet a lot of people from just all around and make new friends in that sense too. So it was nice to experience people that just weren't from my hometown. Yeah, absolutely.
How did you handle long distance, like from your family and friends from back home?
Yeah. Luckily, I've never had too much of an attachment towards, like, needing to be around my friends and family. When it came time for graduation at schools, all the girls were, like, crying, saying, oh, I'm going to miss you. And I just walked out of that place, like, we're done here.
Yeah.
So I've been a little independent in that sense, but it was easy for me to be away from my family for that stretch of time. I think after the 5 months, I was ready to like return to a little bit of normalcy or familiarity that I've had, and it was nice to see my family. But it, like, you just get in the rhythm of just going and doing, you know, your life and in the way that you're living. And so I never had too hard of a time doing that. Good. But every once in a while I do like a little video chat with my mom, or she'd send a care package for Christmas, and that was fun. The technology was not like what it is today, so it was hard to get like cruise ship Wi-Fi going, and it was just like, it was difficult to communicate. So it kind of just, you wouldn't communicate too much, I felt. So just, you know, stayed focused on where I was and didn't try and like think like, oh, I miss home so much. I think there definitely were people that had difficulty making that transition, and there were some people that couldn't do it and you know, had to go home. But for me, I think I was like reaching out for some kind of like relief from home in a sense too. So yeah,
that's definitely understandable. What was your favorite experience in Hawaii?
Probably getting to scuba dive a little bit in the Molokini Crater area, which is the second clearest water in the world. You just see down probably over 100 feet, and it just looks like you're looking through glass. It's one of the most beautiful little experiences. So that Hawaiian water is unlike anything in this world, and just being able to like go into the ocean and it be so warm is just so different and such a guilty little pleasure. So I really enjoyed all the beach time I had.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you went out on this cruise ship?
I was 18 years old. Yeah, absolutely.
How did you hear about this? Did you find it online, or?
A couple of my high school friends actually went and did it themselves. There were two kids that went out for a contract, and then their friend was going to do it, and he happened to be a neighbor of mine. And my mom caught wind of this great idea, and I was like, you should do it too. And I was like, well, anything's better than being here in the desert, so yeah, I'll go to Hawaii. Like, either they're going to pay for my trip there, they're going to pay for my trip back, they're going to feed me and house me. It's like signing up for the military, but not quite, you know, investing your life in it. So yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Right.
So that's why.
Yeah. I feel like that's such a great way to hear about it too, because, you know, it's something that, you know, people you know have done, and it's not something online that it's like, well, what if, and am I sure that this isn't an ad,
of
you know,
course,
because ads always like to, you know, make things a little bit better.
Especially as a young woman too, like, you know, and I'm very street smart. I've always been street smart too, so, you know, I was always able to assess situations and keep myself safe. Not that there, you know, was anything around me, but just making that transition as a young age. Everyone else that went was a boy from my high school. I think I was one of the only females that, like, endured that little trek. So I got to do like Coast Guard training in Maryland for 2 weeks, and it was just fun to have like that exposure of like, okay, you're in like Coast Guard area where they're training, they're doing their actual job, you're just here to like get some credentials. And it was wild and fun to just jam all that into like a 5.5 month stretch, including the training. So
Did you ever sign another contract or think about signing another contract?
I did have heavy interest in the entertainment industry of the cruise ship. So I actually did like a tryout, I guess you could call it. And you know, over the intercom every morning you would hear, "Aloha, kahahiaka, good morning, Pride of America, ohana. This is Malu, your cruise director speaking." And then she'd give you the weather and everything. And so she was like the main hostess for the ship. She was like the ambassador of the ship too. She was a Hawaiian lady that like joined the ship so she could like be the facilitator of all these events. And so I ended up doing this little audition in this really cool little auditorium, and it was just so fun to even do that. Oh my gosh, the nerves. They were like, okay, just pretend it's karaoke night. I'm like, I'm 18, I've never been to a bar, like I don't understand how to do this. But it was just, it's fun. I feel like I nailed it. Walked out of there all like shaky and giddy. And then I went home, and they actually did email me to come back for entertainment on the cruise ship. So I could have done another contract, but it went into my spam folder, and I just didn't think to check it, nor did I have like heavy interest in returning. Okay, like I guess so. Yeah, I never returned, but I could have as
Yeah.
entertainment. So it's nice to
Wow.
know that they did like seek that out within myself as well, because I was like, oh well, this is the fun part of the cruise ship. You get to dance and be fun and like play with the guests and do games and things like that. So it would have been fun, but yeah, I ended up moving back home and then attending a little bit of college and then working for Macy's. So that was another like step into like a corporate job, which was very interesting because they just have all their rules and they've been around since the 1900s. So it was like working for a big machine, like going from the cruise ship to that was quite the transition.
Yeah, I bet.
What'd you go to college for?
I was just going to put my foot in the door, like I said, like, you know, I graduated high school, just wanted to start experiencing new and different things, and, you know, everybody's telling you to go to school, and I was like, okay, I'll go, but I don't know what I'm going for, and originally I had some interest in, just, like, cardiothoracic field in general, but I just never pursued too much of it, because I've just been working. Yeah, honestly, just been an independent since I've been 18, so yeah. So my interest in starting my business came from just naturally being a little entrepreneurial my whole life. I always had like an interest in business and what makes the things that happen in the back end like happen, so you can just be like a consumer in general, like what does that look like? So just being exposed to an environment that you could hear like what people's needs were and how that there was a gap in the market, and that I could create a product that would, one, give people what they're asking for, and then two, it would make me money by giving them what they're asking for and providing that. So being able to facilitate something where it's a good exchange for like who I'm trying to sell to, and also like somebody's needing something too, so providing like a high quality item. So my business is the Velvet Chihuahua, named after my little dog, also inspired by the Velveteen Rabbit. So business wise, I just love creating good names. Even naming products I feel is like really substantial in how the consumer interacts with your product and your business and your brand, and how they see you and what they can expect and rely on. So that's just something I've really heavily enjoyed about my business, and I think that it's fun to be a business owner and a worker too. Like I feel like it made me a better employee once I started to have to take responsibility for my own business, and you know what that entails, and all the hard work of like, you know, keeping a product looking good, not bending a tag just because, you know, it was in your way and it bent in your hand, but like how it degrades the product's value and when somebody picks it up, and just the psychological factor too of like what makes somebody want to buy something, and being able to work at a store and kind of hear what people are looking for, I felt like was such a like super spy move, because I could take all the best interests that people were having and create a product that just marked all those boxes off. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you say what exactly you make?
I make a lot of artwork. So I've done handmade cards. I eventually switched over to digital cards. And I do stickers, like emergency stickers for your house, because that just wasn't a thing anymore. People are like, oh, do you have those stickers that show you how many animals are in there? One week we didn't, the next week we did, because, you know, just people were expressing their needs for something. And then I do a lot of cat beds and dog beds that are just stitched by hand. So that's another thing. Like, I don't like using a sewing machine, but I'll stitch something by hand, no problem. And with that, it adds the value back into the product. And then people are like, wait, this is made locally by this lady, and it's all cotton? Like, that's exactly what we're looking for. So it's nice to create a product that resonates with people and that does hold its own value.
That's awesome. What's a piece of advice that you could give someone for wanting to start their own business?
Oh, yeah. Just start it. Those business licenses are not expensive. And they really set you apart from like, oh yeah, I'm just doing this little side thing, to being like super legitimate. And, you know, once you're signing your name and you just have a reputation that comes with it, I think that that really starts to hold permanence. And it's something that you care for. So I think, you know, just not being scared of establishing legitimacy, just do it. I think it's so easy. And then, you know, you don't have to work up to the point where you become a business. You can start from a business and keep chipping away and grow it into an empire if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so just don't be scared. Just go try it. There's nothing bad that'll happen. Just pay your taxes and you'll be okay.
Right.
Yeah, and there's other ways you can like subcontract work out too. There's, you know, there's ways to have employees or not have employees. You can be a sole proprietor in certain things. You know, you can have an LLC if you want to. It's so obtainable, which is nice. Sometimes you hear like, you know, we're in a world where there's so many corporations and big names that have been around, and we rely on all these big names, but it's nice to be in a town where you can create a small name for yourself and it be well known just as much as those big names.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that's great.
It's been fun. I've been really, really grateful for it, and you know, it's nice to be able to offer something and lean back on it, and be at the full control where I don't have to answer to anybody about it. But yeah.
How do you balance working like your regular day job and then working for yourself?
That's a definite struggle sometimes, you know, with anything. Just, you know, sometimes it takes a village to do a whole lot of work too. What I've found is, you know, I can do the majority of everything to a T, but it is nice to allow someone else to kind of like look you over and make sure that like, you know, your rough draft doesn't have any errors in it kind of situation. So the self-motivation I think is key, but maintaining that can get difficult at times just because you get in this mindset of like, okay, well, I go to work, I have this physical place to be at. And with your self job, if you're not like putting yourself in an office or something, creating that visual of like separation of space, I think is the mental stretch there. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't say that I have that mastered or balanced, but I can see the psychology behind it. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see how that might be difficult.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, with everything, anytime you want to give something attention, you have to take attention from something else. And it's just a discipline at that point.
Yeah. I heard something, if you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to everything else.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we can't have everything we all want at the same time in this life. We can have it in increment, but you just have to allow that space and that grace to know that good things are coming and they'll happen when they do, and you're just here for the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Alrighty, Kayla, would you like to tell the story of how we first met?
Yes, I'm so stoked that we met. So I was just working a normal day at the pet store, and you came in. I don't know if you came with her. Yes? Okay, yes. So you gave grace to, you know, every customer that was in there. You didn't just like rush yourself to the counter and you were like, are you hiring or anything like that? Like your true intention for like wanting to come in for a job and ask if you were hiring was so proper and polite and like what you'd expect for somebody that's like so professional. And you know, you were asking if we were hiring, and I said I would love if you brought in a resume, and I think I told you to bring in a cover letter too, and the cover letter can be so intimidating.
I think I made that like that night because I never like made one. I just had a resume and I was like, she told me to bring in a cover letter. I'm gonna make one.
Absolutely. And you know what I found, even with myself doing cover letters, it just sets you apart. Like I was taught that in high school. They're like, okay, you gotta write a resume and a cover letter. I didn't understand then like what it meant, and like, you know, bringing in it printed in nice paper, and just like how that like really expresses like your work ethic too. And so I was just so tickled that you were interested, you were like were super competent, you were super nice and approachable, and you weren't scared to approach that. Like you can always feel someone's energy when they're like apprehensive, or they've got keys in their hand and they're toggling it and they're making a lot of noise because like they're nervous and they don't realize they're projecting their nervousness. But you just exuded self-confidence and experience all within itself, that it was like an absolute yes. And not only that, but you inspired the owner of the store to hire a minor that she had never hired anybody that was below the age of 18 before. And here you come in 16 years old, more competent than some of the workers I've ever seen work there. And it was like, what a breath of fresh air. And to see like such a young generation so capable of like doing a very good job was really refreshing.
Well, I appreciate that, because like I feel like that is something that's always nerve-wracking. Like, you know, you don't know if they're just gonna straight up tell you, no, we're not hiring, you know, maybe come in, you know, in a couple of months. But you were so kind about it. You're like, you know what, like, we might be, you know, go ahead, bring in a resume, cover letter, you know, we'll look it over. And, you know, you're just so nice, and you are just so approachable too. So I feel like it always helps when, you know, whoever you're gonna be giving it to is nice and they're smiling, and you know, they're actually willing to talk to you, and not, you know, being rude, like, oh, we don't need more employees.
Course,
so,
yeah.
you know, I feel like the environment helps too,
Totally.
but it's definitely confidence, like, you know, just acting like you know you're going to get the job, just walking right in there, here you
Yes.
go, you know.
Yeah, and that's been the difference with any job I've ever had. Like I've always known every job I'm gonna get. Like I'm like, this is a yes. Like I just go in and I'm like, oh, I'm a new employee, let's do this thing. And then like just that, creating that mentality really creates that reality.
Yeah.
I like that. That mentality creates that reality.
We're going to quote that now. And then, Kayla.
Yeah, I've got a lot of one-liners. That's that just brand building kind of thing that I love too. I just love integrating words that like speak to people and that become memorable. Like I love building that muscle memory.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you were such a fun person to work with, and you caught on so quickly to where you were able to like teach other older people about the job and the position and what we do, and you held such grace to where other people get frustrated or take things personally, and you're just like never showed anything like that. And that taught me so many things. Like when you would come into work, I'd look forward to it because I'm like, ooh, I get to learn something new today from Haley. Like she's gonna teach me something new, and that was really exciting.
Yeah, and like that's exactly how I felt working with you too, because like Kayla's on the schedule today, like I know we're gonna have fun, like it's gonna be a good day, we're gonna have good music playing, you know, just, and you're so crafty and like artistic that it's like, okay, will you help me make these, put these in the window? And I'm like, yeah, like, you know, you just make the little rough draft and then I just help you do the rest.
fun.
And yeah,
Yeah,
so that was always so much fun.
we had a good time.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was stoked when you left too, because you're just climbing that ladder, and I love not staying in the same place for too long. And it's okay to be loyal. It's okay to, you know, put in your time and put in your hours, but there's so much to experience in this world that, like, you know, every little job that you have, every little thing that you learn really sets you up for the next thing that you're geared up for, that you just don't know how that's going to apply or how that skill will be useful in the
Right.
next context.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. Can we talk a little bit about your move from California to Washington, and like how
Yeah.
that might be different, or what it looked
Absolutely.
like going from like the desert to like
Here.
this kind of environment?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the move, you know, and that was a whole independent move altogether too. Like just I was working for Macy's, Massage Envy as a receptionist, and Pier 1 Imports, because one of the customers at Massage Envy loved me so much that she offered me a job at the Pier 1 that she was managing. And then eventually I dropped out of Massage Envy and Macy's and was just working for Pier 1 and attending school, kind of just on that ledge of like, I don't really know what I want to do going forward. And so I just wanted to take charge and have a difference in what I was doing in my life. And so I moved, I think it was June 21st of 2016. I decided to, have everything packed up, and I had saved like all my financial aid that I was given, which I don't know how I saved that. And I used that to drive myself from California to Washington. And that was, it was fun. I love long distance driving. I love that independent little stretch. I think it was a really good decision and a really fun choice to make that move. So young when I did it too, honestly, just like that was 8 years ago. And now I further appreciate like the relationship that I have with my mom, and I do miss being in close proximity to her. But also she's so grateful that like I am doing what I am doing and have been doing, and she's been all for my move ever since the first get-go of it. So it's such a vast different environmentally. Just I love the desert, grew up in it. There's just, you get so used to that environment.
Yeah.
And then coming up here, it was just like lush green, and a lot of it reminds me of Hawaii, honestly. Just the thick vibrance of all this life just fighting and crawling all over the place just for somewhere to live. And it's just really fun to see an environment that does its own breath work and it clears itself out. Like to be in such a healthy little place, to be able to reflect on where you are and what that environment really holds. And it tells like the lakes and the beaches and the mountains. There's so much to experience, and everybody can kind of have their avenue of where they go and enjoy things too. So I really appreciate this environment. I've appreciated every environment that I've lived in, Oceanside, California, Apple Valley, California, the Hawaiian Islands too. It's like all so big of a place to absorb all these differences from, and I just love travel. I think it's really healthy for the brain to be able to travel and get out there, and your world just expands once you see how small it really is. And it's all accessible, it really is, which is nice because I grew up kind of sheltered and not knowing that like I could access all these places, and so to be able to do it by myself and just drive myself anywhere is like such a freedom.
Yeah, definitely. What's one thing that you've learned that you could give advice on, like life experience?
Always be happy to be like who you are, because no one else is going to do that work for you. And anything that you're wanting is achievable. Just you have to want it and envision yourself to being, that you can accept it too. So learning to accept things as they come for what they are, I think is important. But just knowing the self-confidence that you don't have to react to every situation either, which I think is a big thing. Like we can kind of rest on situations or scenarios and then give our response, but we don't have to react to everything.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's a great piece.
Yeah. Alrighty, so we have some new little cards that are just fun little question cards to kind of get to know each other a little bit, find out some fun facts. So what do you like about where you live?
Oh, I love how homegrown it is. Like, for a while I felt like an outsider, like trying to establish like the right to, call this place my own and call it my home. And so I feel like, I've put in my stretch of time and I do feel like a local. I do feel like I uphold the standards of the community and, am a contributing member of it too. And so I really just love being a part of this environment and this community. I feel like I finally have tapped into the roots, and I've put myself there and I wear the badge of honor well. So yeah. So feeling like I'm finally a part of this environment feels really good.
Yeah.
And then just something that I kind of thought of, along with, you're a part of this community now, you're roots are, kind of tapped in, do you plan on staying here for, a long time? Or do you kind of have other plans, want to go somewhere else?
Isn't that interesting? And that goes with that envisionment thing. Like, I haven't yet envisioned myself being anywhere for long term.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, it might be time to start thinking about that, but I haven't done it yet. So I don't know if I will be here forever or if something random will happen in life where it takes me elsewhere. I'm so open to everything that I'd be happy with wherever I land. Like, just inner happiness and maintaining that it's transportable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love it here, but I can love it anywhere too. But this is a very special environment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. The fact that, you're so right. It's, the happiness within you is transportable, and you can take it wherever you go.
Truly.
There's always, sometimes I miss home. That might be home, but it's like, this new place is still so great and I'm still so happy on the inside that it's like, well, we can always go visit again or, I mean, in the end, you just might come back and you never know.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, and life kind of has its cycles if you pay attention to them for opportunities of where you can go, and everything's perfect. Like, we all get to these forks in the road where we may go one way and it takes us longer to reach that destination, but we're gonna reach the destination regardless.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's meant for you will happen for
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you believe in love at first sight?
Oh. What a wonderful
Oh, man.
Yes. I think that, we're such cosmic little energetic beings that, I believe we've come from, like, different lives and kind of hold on our energies transported, and we've done a lot of previous work, that I've not seen in this life, but I'm going to carry through. So I think that love at first sight is definitely recognizable when you do see that person and you approach them, and there's a sensation that happens and just an inner knowing, like, you just know. It's so funny. So yeah, I definitely do believe in love at first sight. I've experienced it, and not to say that there can't be multiple loves at first sight, because that's kind of a thing in this life too, honestly, and at different times. Like, you never know if you become widowed or, you get remarried in your 70s. Sometimes people and experiences and relationships can expire, and not that, everything's meant, you're not supposed to wear the same shoe forever. We do outgrow certain things in this life, and that's okay to happen too, but still respecting that love for what it was and still is, because it's not going anywhere. It's still constant, and that's still an emotional memory kind of thing that you've developed, and it's a human right too to be able to have that sensation of love, and no one can take that away from you.
Yeah.
So
then would you say, what's on your take, between soulmates and love at first sight?
Absolutely. And there's some people that feel just a very chemical reaction, but intellectually they don't react. And there's astrological things, like something that I've found in my experience with just relationships and dating is those astrological things are more true than not, like compatibility matches, and there's certain characteristics that we do hold from being born on certain places of this planet in certain alignments with the rest of the solar system. So I'm a believer in that, and so just recognizing that different times at different places and different realities and mentalities too. Like, when you're a young person, you don't think the same way as when you're 10 years down that road, and there's just so much knowledge and experience to be had that kind of changes your answer as you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really cool. And just to, learn more about all the, what is it? Not astrology, but like, just like the alignment and just, everything like that. And, you know, like you're saying, like when you're born, and, you know, it does kind of determine, you know, you might be more compatible with, you know, this person than this person.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that I want to learn more about.
Yeah.
And that it is cool to just, you know, have in the back of your brain, you know,
and
think
it's
about it.
It's just an interesting parallel. Like, I'm a Cancer, and I've dated multiple Cancers, and they say, yeah, like, you're, like, really compatible in bed, and you're good friends, but relationship-wise, it never works. I'm like, well, yeah, that did hold up true. Not that I'm going into it with the mentality of, like, oh, well, this book says this, so sorry, I'm going to reject that, because this book says this. It's like, well, allow chance and,
Definitely.
and truth to take place, too. But, you know, soulmates can come also as best friends. And,
Right.
you know, it's not a sexually driven kind of relationship either. Like, we do meet our friends that are soulmates, too, and that's substantial. So there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of energetic work that can be identified too into why we all are, you know, good at certain things, and how we come together with somebody that's kind of on the opposite end to fill in and create the whole package there. And so just having that knowledge and understanding has helped me identify, like, you know, this person's really good at this, and I don't want them to change because we need that in this world, and I don't want to be the one to do that. I'm not even good at that thing. I'm good at these things. But when we come together, it's like that's how Disneyland runs. Everybody has their jobs, and it all gets done and closed up by the end of the day. So us little humans are just, you know, we designed those jobs mirroring, like, how just humans work in general.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really cool. It's a great way to think about it.
Disneyland. This podcast is not sponsored by Disneyland.
Or any of their employees.
Do you want to do one more card?
Yeah, we can do one more.
Awesome.
And then we'll close it out.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Alrighty. Is there a food you could happily eat every day of your life?
Oh gosh, potatoes.
Potatoes?
I love potatoes in any form. Like, they're just wonderful. I love my potatoes. Potato wedges, mashed potatoes, anything.
French fries.
French fries. Yeah, they're so, like, universal. There's just, you can eat them any way. Try not to eat it every day. I feel like-
Even hash browns, breakfast,
right.
lunch,
Yeah.
dinner, you know.
Potato chips,
Exactly.
they're very universal. You know, I like purple potatoes. They're really antioxidant rich and have been proven to, like, fight cancer. So those are always nice.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Uh-huh, yeah. And they're just, you know, starch and sugars and carbs, but represent the potato.
Right.
Yeah, second would be the onion, only cooked. I couldn't eat raw onion. I'm not bad into it, but
Yeah.
potato.
I feel like that's a pretty good choice.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for being on our podcast today.
Thanks for having me, ladies.
Yeah, today has been so much fun just doing this whole podcast and just getting to hear all of this. You know, I worked with you for, 9 months?
Yeah, good stretch.
And I learned even more about you just with this podcast. So,
So fun.
it has been. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime.
If you like this episode, please tell a friend and be sure to come back next Monday for our newest episode.
And this is your Not So Average Gal podcast signing out. See ya.